Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our ranking member, Elliot Engel, for working with my office and Mr. Salmon's office and Mr. Sears to bring up this bill on the Venezuela situation to mark up this morning. I'd like to recognize the many Venezuelan Americans who have made a long trip from New York, Michigan, Ohio, Florida, to be here and to witness this day. And I'd like to point out in the audience Maria Conchito Alonso, who's a wonderful actor. I loved her role in Moscow on the Hudson with Robin Williams. It's good to see her. Thank you all for being here. For 3 months now, as both of the gentlemen have explained, the Maduro regime in Venezuela has committed grave human rights violations as it seeks to muzzle the students who are peaceful. And they have been marching with a clear call. They're calling for the respect for human rights and democracy to really take hold in their nation. So far, there have been over 40 people killed, nearly 60 reported cases of torture, more than 2,000 people unjustly detained, hundreds more injured. And let's look at what has happened just this week, Mr. Chairman and members. Just this week, 250 teenage protesters who had camped out in public squares to protest were rounded up at 3 in the morning yesterday. Also, just this week, the Venezuelan intelligence agency picked up and has put in detention Rodrigo Diamante, the leader of an NGO called Un Mundo Sin Mordaza, a world without muzzle. Censorship continues. This week, another prominent independent radio program was pulled off the airwaves. This week, newspapers like El Universal are saying that they have about 2 weeks left of newsprint. Maduro has restricted newsprint coming into the country. The government has put many challenges in their way to provide information to the people of Venezuela. And lastly, opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez was supposed to have his day in court yesterday, and all of a sudden his hearing was simply postponed without reason, without discussion, without explanation, simply canceled. All of this happened just this week. But even with all of this repression, Mr. Chairman, the students and the student unions on several campuses in Venezuela continue to show bravery and courage in standing up for democracy and for freedom of expression. That is all they're asking. Now, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, and members, some opponents of this legislation have claimed that we must give peace a chance regarding the UNASUR talks. And just 2 notes about that. First of all, the violence is only on the government side. The students are not the violent ones. Why create the violence and then say we have to have a dialogue for peace? Here's a solution for peace. Stop shooting the students. Also, the UNASUR team members are not honest brokers. They're in the pockets of Maduro. They're followers of Maduro. So how can you have any real discussion taking place there? And after several rounds of so-called negotiations, the talks have yielded no results, and it's not the U.S. that is derailing the process. Venezuelan leader Maduro and his goons are the ones that are derailing the process because they have the weapons, and their allies, like the colectivos, are using them against the people, the unarmed, peaceful protesters. Other opponents believe that we should wait and see what the peace process can resolve. Well, I ask, when is it a good time? How many more people have to be innocently killed for the time to be right? It will never be right. Maduro is the one who's perpetrating the violence. It's simple. Another topic I would like to clear up is the authorization of funds in the bill. This is not new money. We already direct $5 million to civil society programs in Venezuela, so the bill just ensures that we do not fall below that number and that we do not preclude assistance for democracy and human rights issues, which is what it should do. And again, I commend our committee. Thank you, Mr. Royce, our chairman, for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Engel and Mr. Salmon and Mr. Sears, and for shining a light on the atrocities committed in Venezuela. I urge my colleagues to support the bill. The Venezuelan people are counting on your support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.